Hello and welcome! One of the biggest sporting events just finished up, and if you couldn't really tell, I'm not that big a sports fan, but this year is a little bit different. I actually pay attention and watch the Super Bowl, not because of Tom Brady, but because my boyfriend has been a long time Buccaneers fan and I had to show my support. Even though I found the game a little bit boring, I wanted to still do a little bit more research. And what better research to do than to look back to the past and find out how sports work with our favorite pal, Goofy. If you're not familiar, when Goofy was first introduced, he was quite the sports star, and they did a lot of shorts with him involving sports. That sounds like a tongue twister. There was a lot of shorts made during the 1940s, but I wanted to pick apart 3 of them. The 3 that I picked are The Art of Skiing, which was the first one that they ever made, How to Play Football, because obviously the Super Bowl just ended, and Dribble with basketball coming in. Perfect timing to learn. So without further ado, let's break these down. The Art of Skiing was made in 1941. It is our first in our series of the Goofy sports shorts, and this one features our narrator. The other 2 don't, so this one's a little bit more of what I was familiar with. I know in the past I've talked about Goofy and the Super Bowl short that he did, which was the most recent of our shorts with Goofy and sports. A lot of words.
The DVD, the CD, the LD, the DVR, the VCR, audio receiver, AV cables, TV cables, satellite dish, with satellite, the Blu-ray, the Green-ray, the Who-ray, the Hi-Fi IY, HDMI, the heebie-jeebies, and E equals MC squared. Oh, and don't forget the batteries. They're not included.
I did not realize how slapstick Goofy was. All the good Disney characters are honestly very slapstick. Donald and Goofy take the cake though. Basic story is Goofy learns how to ski. The narrator takes everything apart and basically uses Goofy as a demonstration and goes through all of the skills needed to ski, but comedy-wise.
Upon reaching the summit, our first step is the turn into position. This is accomplished by the kick turn. 1, knees and skis close together. 2, firm support on both poles.
And fun fact, this is the first time the Goofy holler is ever heard. So this is very important because this started a legend. It's only about 7 minutes long, so I recommend it. I like the narration pieces. I really enjoyed them. They did a couple more, like How to Fish and How to Play Baseball, which I did not watch, but I do remember How to Fish, seeing it on TV all the time, so that's also why I kind of wanted to go stay away from that. The next one is How to Play Football. Very easily explainable. And this was made in 1944. This is a little bit different because this is when we have Goofy as a species and not as a character. Whereas the first one, it basically showed Goofy as Goofy and he was a standalone character. But in the football one and also in the basketball one, there's a ton of Goofys. And they basically take up the entire team. This one we have a narrator. It's not narrating how to do it. It's basically showing the progress of the game being played. And it's college football in the 40s. And it's really interesting to look back to see how things were during that time, because it was basically present day when it was drawn and animated. And college football was a lot more interesting before the Super Bowl was a thing.
Football needs special equipment. A college covered with ivy, a coliseum or stadium filled to overflowing with 100,000 rabid, wildly cheering fans, great armies of vendors, managers, mascots, photographers, sports writers, doctors, elaborate brass bands, assorted coaches, old grads.
I learned that the Super Bowl didn't start till the 60s, and this was 44, so this was ahead of its time in a sense. We have our 2 teams, the taxidermy versus anthropology. And it's a battle between the 2 of them to see who's going to win.
There's the try for the extra point. It's good, or is it? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and there's the gun ending the half.
I feel like it's filled with a lot of stereotypes too, and they make the coach very dramatic. I don't know if this is how things were back then, but it's added for humor. And it's so interesting to watch all of these because I feel like the humor is a lot more adult compared to family friendly, and it can get dark. But basically, it's just a short showing how to play football, showing the two teams and who wins. And then that's the end. Finally, we come to Double Dribble, which was made in 1946, so the most recent of all of these that we're reviewing. Once again, it's very similar to How to Play Football, where you have a lot of goofies on the board, the two teams, but the joke is that they're very, 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 very tall, and you have one goofy that's very tiny, and he wants to play. I did like this one a lot. I liked the animation. I thought it was very creative, and you have things that are very simplistic, but it works really well, where I do think they made a lot of shortcuts, but the shortcuts worked in the simplicity and to the art. And I feel like this is very similar to the way that they've drawn things later on with Donald Duck in Mathland.
Over to Gracie, back to right, Hannah to Reeves, over the center, into West, to Banta, to Satterwhite, and there's the gun ending the first half. The teams are going to the dressing rooms for that well-earned rest. All set to go again.
You can start to see a lot of copying techniques, but techniques that work nonetheless. This one is also super dark. There is a suicide reference. And it's crazy to look back to think of this as just like normal humor. And this would never be allowed today. But I love stuff like this because I love seeing the history and how people used to live and what they thought was funny. And this one's actually the funniest in my opinion of all the three, because I don't know why. I just love the whole yes, no, no, yes type of humor, even though it's literally repetitive, but this is in here.
It's in, and the all ball game. No, no, it's not. Yes, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes. Wow, what a beautiful defense.
I actually was laughing out loud with it, so it still holds up today. Same concept as the football. Two teams are playing against each other, trying to see who wins. We have a narrator narrating the game, and it comes to the last minute in a humorous way. The one team pulls through and wins.
5. Marathu shoots, and he's in. I mean, it's in. Yes, yes, and there's the final gun.
I also like that even though hidden Mickeys weren't a thing, we do have hidden Mickeys in this.
Shoot, good. Reeves shoots, good. There's another shot, and another, and another, and another, all good. And
it's a good time all around. The basketball one was my favorite out of the shorts, but it's also harder because I'm not a sports fan. In those terms, I do find the sport boring. I even found the Super Bowl boring.
I said what I said.
If you are interested in watching these shorts, they're very easy to find. I will leave a link in the description of the ones I found off of YouTube to watch. I don't know if you'll be able to find it on Disney Plus because these are more of the darker humor and darker Disney, if you like to think. So I have no idea if they're going to put it on there, but I do appreciate being able to still find them. It's always intriguing to think of Goofy as a completely different character as he's portrayed now. I feel like people just think of him as the Goofy dad and Goofy movie and more of the modern day take of it, but he was a lot more aggressive and of course the manly man in the case back when he was first created. So it's nice to see him progress through the years. We'll probably dive down again with these old cartoons. But until then, I hope you guys have a magical day and I will see you real soon.